For the first time this MLS season, we'll have a double feature of games to go over. We discuss the Union's heartbreaking draw to Columbus Crew on Saturday and their dramatic comeback win in their first midweek MLS game of the year against LA Galaxy. All that and more as Union Insider starts right now. Hey everyone, welcome to Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross. I'm Marisa alongside two of my truly best friends, Sebastian and Sheanon Williams. I hope the feeling's mutual. So we got a lot of stuff to get to because the Union had two games that we're going over in this one. A two-game homestand this past week, a Saturday showdown against the top team in the East in the Columbus Crew, and a midweek matchup against reigning MLS Cup champions in LA Galaxy. Let's start with Columbus Crew. The Union got on the board late in this first half after a beautiful distribution by Andrew Rick, a cheeky Quinn Sullivan flick, and a great Ty Bariba finish. How important was that first goal for the Union?
I think it was a very good organized team by the Union because Columbus got most of the ball, and I think tactically Bradley Carnell really came up with a perfect plan to try to counter this team of Columbus, frustrate them to not be able to go from the middle of the pitch, try to be on their side. They create some chances, but Rick make some good save in the first half, and at the end he's the one who delivered a great ball right before halftime to Quinn Sullivan, who had a great cross to Baribo in the back post for the 1-0, and it was maybe like most of the pressure for Columbus, but the way I think the team wanted to play, it's exactly what happened for them in a good way, and they were able to be up 1-0. So you can feel that the game plan in this game was perfect against Columbus.
Yeah, we love to see a goalkeeper assist. I mean, why not? But Columbus equalized not soon after that. So what happened in that equalizer?
For me, I think it highlights the defensive vulnerability, especially in the late game scenarios. I think that's something that the Union need to work on. We saw them give up a late goal at the end of the half against Montreal and then a late goal against Columbus. It's something that they just need to focus in on. A lot of it comes down to just making sure that you have clearances that get out of the box, making sure that you have people marked up. These are things that they can work on to get better and next time take the full 3 points instead of just the one. So I think that if they can clean up some of these late game situations, that they'll be in a better situation than they already are in.
It's such a heartbreaking way to lose out on 3 points in a game that we said was a real litmus test for this team. What do you think the team takes away?
I think they're going to take away the fact that they really work well together against a team who like to have the ball. So I think it was a perfect thing for the Union, even if they were at home, to kind of leave the ball to Columbus, work hard together. They spend a lot of energy covering the ground, making sure that Columbus is not able to play through the midfield. And at the end, like Sheanon say, just be able to not get the 3 points on a little mistake defensively, to not be maybe on the mark on the set pieces at the last minute. It was very heartbreaking, for all the fans in the stadium, myself, in the booth with Dave. You really feel, for the player because they give a lot of, energy in this game, but just were able to get 1 point. It's still a very good point against a very good team of Columbus, who's going to be, top of the standing in the East this season again. But it was, I think, a good test for the Union. They know they can now match up against a good team, but it's always, those little things you need to get better. So it's great to happen, at the beginning of the season. So then for the rest of the year and hopefully the playoff, we can learn from those little mistakes to then get a positive result.
Let's transition to Wednesday now. It was the first midweek MLS match of the season for the Union, and they welcomed the reigning MLS Cup champions, LA Galaxy. But this is also a team who was also looking for their first win of the season. They had to come to Chester to try to do that. So the Union arguably had, let's be honest, one of the worst first halves of the season so far. They went down 2-0 at halftime. What went wrong in that first half?
I think for me, it's you play Columbus, who have like 70% of the possession, and then you play LA Galaxy, who just give you the ball, sit down, wait for you to do the mistake, and you were not really prepared for that for the team. You were so many mistakes of trying, especially with our center backs, our center midfield, to make the game and losing the ball at a spot you don't want to lose it. And of course, Galaxy, did a very good job in countering in the first half, scoring 2 goals and really putting the doubt into the mind of the player of the Union. But what really struck me too is every time we play a team who are not maybe as good, and we saw it against Montreal, we saw it against Open Cup as well, and we score early or we don't really play as well. We kind of shut down and we believe it's going to be an easy game. So it was a good wake-up call. I think it was a good talk at halftime, for the team, but you saw it was a night and day game. It was really poor, offensively, not really any, solution, any movement, very predictable. And then in the second half, it was wave after wave after wave of offense. And he finished at 3-2, but it could have been, 5-6 if, McCarthy didn't do many saves. But so many shots in the second half, and it's the way the Union is always the most successful. It's having minimum 4-5 guys in the box when you get some good crosses from Wagner and Frankie Westfield on the right side.
Yeah, what did you think of that tale of really two different halves?
Yeah, they obviously came out flat, which is going to happen during the course of a long season. They did a good job to correct that, and I think that that's something that they've done all season long, is go into halftime and come out with the game plan to attack the second half. They had 22 shots, 9 on target, so that obviously tells you that they really woke up at halftime. Not sure what was said, but I'm sure some choice words were said by Bradley Cardinal to get them going, and it showed. And he clicks all the right buttons at the right times, and they come out, they score 2 early goals, and then they get 1 late. So again, just a good performance at home in front of your home fans, making sure that you don't leave with something short of 3 points or at least a point. I thought that they did a good job to correct the wrongs that they had in the first half, and that's always going to be so important. That's why they have halftime. That's why you get a break in between to make those little corrections, and I thought they did a good job of that.
There's plenty of action to choose from because we had 2 games to talk about in this episode, but one goal in particular stood out, and that's what we're going to break down for you in this week's Key Play of the Week presented by Subaru. Well, we're not, but Seba is. He's over at the video monitor to break down the game-winning goal against LA Galaxy on Wednesday.
Yes, and we're going to get, the last goal in the extra time, starting with a corner or Kai Wagner, the first goal, from Ariel come as well on this side, but it was a bad clearance from the LA Galaxy, playing back, in the box by Kevin Sullivan, winning by Bedoya, and at the end, a great job from Michael Hua to cross the ball for Baribo with a smashing header and a great celebration. But what I want to point out is when you see, the ball get played, it's by our 3 guys who came, on the field, as a sub. Kevin Sullivan finding Bedoya to then Hua, who gives the ball to Baribo to score, his 10th goal of the season. But if you point at right here, we pause right here, it's all about desire, at the end. It's what we didn't see into the first half, is the fact that the ball got played by Kevin Sullivan. Look how Bedoya is winning the matchup, against the LA Galaxy, and look where Michael Hua is right now. He's right here between 4, LA Galaxy player. But if you play right here, and Bedoya is the first one on the ball, winning it, getting some great composure, and putting, a chance for his forward Baribo to get the end of it and put it in the back of the goal. But it's all about, energy, desire, wanting to get the win, and a hard work from everybody into the team, which we didn't see in the first half. But the second half was exactly this, the entire 45 minutes, and a great help, from the 3 guys who came on the field. Sullivan playing to Bedoya, connecting with Hua, and at the end, our best goal scorer, Baribo, getting his 10th of the year to give the win. We don't see the celebration, but you can see the entire bench going and celebrating. I was in the booth, I wanted to jump as well, but I was a bit too far. But what a great win to come back for the team, being down 2-0 and winning 3-2 against Galaxy.
Yeah, Seba, great analysis, and we're so glad you didn't jump out that broadcast booth. You wouldn't have been here today. So we've got more Union Insider for you in a bit. But first, here's your Union trivia question presented by United Concordia. The Union completed their second ever second half 2-goal comeback in club history. When was the other time the Union accomplished this feat? Find out the answer later in the show. Welcome back to Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross. We're back to show you another preview of the Dupe presented by Subaru, but this time it wasn't a player on the podcast. Instead, it was the voice of the Philadelphia Union, PA announcer Kevin Casey. Take a listen.
Well, you talk about leaving your vacation
to
come work a game.
Yep.
You've missed very few games.
That is correct.
How many is it up to now that you've missed in this whole long span?
So we were trying to figure it out. I would say within the entirety of the team, it's a half a dozen or less. There's one notable one I missed in 2014. It was the birth of my youngest daughter.
Oh, God, what a lame excuse that is, Kevin.
And I remember watching the game on TV, Anna and I, and JP had this nice little. It was Lou Nolan doing the game for me that day.
I was going to say, I thought he did at least a couple of the ones that you have.
Yes. Yeah. I think Gary St. Hours has done a game. Gary St. Hours is the Eagles PA announcer. He's done one. He might have done one last year when I missed because I was in Spain with Micah. But he made a nice little comment about, if you're missing the voice, it's because his daughter was born, and he's such a class guy, JP. So, but that was a notable one. But I think really outside of that, I've flown back from vacation for matches. I don't like to miss a whole lot of matches. You know that scene in Anchorman with Ron Burgundy when they're like in the back alley and the different news stations are getting ready to have their brawl, right? Yeah. That's kind of how you are about that's how PA announcers tend to be like, this is my territory. That's my microphone, that's my team. And so you don't want you don't necessarily want to share it out.
So Tom did the math on this.
Okay.
And I think it came out to around 248.
That I've done?
270.
Yeah. 270?
I have 270 Major League Soccer games, and that's just MLS regular season. Oh. So including friendlies, tournaments, Union 2, you're definitely at 300.
Yeah.
Sure.
I never thought about that. And I kind of wish, 'cause I'm a history guy, right? So I always wish that I would have done a better job of collating things over the years, right? Like lineup cards, the lineup sheets from major games.
Should have done that.
I haven't.
Because when you're younger or early on in your career, you start collecting them. Then you're like, what's another piece of paper? Right. But I bet now you're probably like, man, it would have been pretty cool to just stack them all next to each other and see the progression there. Yeah,
I have scripts and stuff from some of other games that I've done and then you're right. You're like, what am I gonna do with these things? Yeah.
I have a pile and I stopped collecting them. Yeah. But every once in a while, I'll add another. I'm like, this was pretty cool. I'll add it to the pile.
It is cool to look at. I just had to move my office, right? And I had all this stuff from 2010, 2009 as well. And it's fun to look back at God, that's what we had back then is our promo gear and stuff like that.
You look at names that you completely forgot about, right?
One of the many pillars of the Union's success over the last few years is their youth development, and specifically their academy, known as YSC Academy. So what does that exactly look like? U18 midfielder Henry Bernstein takes us on a tour of the academy on the latest episode of The U.
What's up, guys? I'm Henry Bernstein, midfielder for the Union U18s and Philadelphia Union 2. Come check out YSC Academy with me. I joined YSC it was the 2020 school year, so it was actually different for me. I joined when we were on Zoom, but in the building. That was in 8th grade, and I've been here, so that's 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and now I'm a senior, graduating in a few months, so it's pretty crazy. So this is the kitchen. You're actually catching it at the quietest time, I think, of the day. If you come in here right after practice, they usually have breakfast sandwiches out for us every day. Same thing with lunch. Everyone's in here using the microwaves. Here's one of Mr. Sullivan's history classes. Let's take a step in. Some might know him as Quinn and Cavan's dad. Those classes are usually a little louder and with some enthusiastic debates, but it seems like they were all working on a presentation or something. My favorite class right now, a few of the seniors are taking a film and literature class, and we have done some skits and watched some movies in class and kind of learned how to work behind a camera, in front of a camera. The pods are a new great addition, noise canceling pod that you can have some time to your own if you need some quiet time. But yeah, it's a great spot. It's probably my favorite spot to study. I think YSC is super flexible, and YSC and the Union are both constantly working with each other to make sure each student have the best setup for them. If they're traveling for an away game, the teachers are all aware and they just want to see us succeed, and they're gonna help us in any way that they can to see that happen. Let's go visit the wonderful head of our school, Nuha. Hi, Nuha. You have a second?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about just the end of the school year? Anything you're excited for coming up?
Graduation is on June 6th, and it's my favorite day of the whole entire year. Everyone gives a speech, so everyone's voice is heard. I just can't wait. I really think it's one of the best events of the whole year.
Excited?
So, yep, I'm excited too.
This is a new addition to the school, the YSC graduate wall. My face will be up there along with the other seniors next year. And so yeah, we've got all of the classes from the first year, which was in 2015. So all the way from 2015 to 2024. And then I guess there's still some room for a bunch more classes to come through. Probably gonna need a bigger wall soon though. Thanks for coming today. I was glad to show you around YSC Academy, but gotta get to class, so see ya.
We're coming up on a break for Union Insider, but when we return, we'll tell you what the Union need to do to take 3 points down in Atlanta on Saturday. We'll be right back after this. Time for this week's Union Update presented by Torque. With their win over LA Galaxy on Wednesday night, the Union are off to their best start in club history through 13 games with 26 points. Their previous best start was back in 2020 when they accumulated 25 points through their first 13 games, a year in which they went on to win the Supporters' Shield. Welcome back to Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross. I'm Marisa Pilla here with Sebastian Letou and Sheanon Williams. The Union are back on the road in a tough environment this weekend as they travel down to Mercedes-Benz Stadium to take on Atlanta United. So naturally, it's time for these two to give over their keys to the game presented by Subaru. Sheanon, what's your key?
My key to the game is going to be for the Union to turn up the defensive pressure. Can they do a really good job of forcing turnovers in Atlanta's own defensive end and then convert off of those turnovers? I think if they can score an early goal off one of those turnovers, they can look to get another 3 points and add it to the win column.
All right, Seba, for you?
And I'm going to be a little bit, not against Sheanon, but a bit different. I think, Atlanta really need to get a win, in that game. So I see them, really getting most of the ball, having the Union maybe sitting in a deeper, hand of the field, getting some space to break in counter-attacks. So can they score on those counter-attacks, which will probably happen for them, and be quick with some late run. We probably will see some changes in that game. It's another game after 3 days. They so far are undefeated in the month of May. So I think a tie is a positive result because they have another game the following Wednesday in Open Cup, and then being home against Miami, it's another big game. So I will say they are going to probably sit back and try to counter-attack. And depending on how the game goes, we can see them maybe pressing more forward at the end of the game if they need to score a goal. But I will see them going more counter-attacks to really break, Atlanta, who is going to probably push number forward to try to score and bring their fans into the game.
Yeah, the Union don't have a great record down in Atlanta, 1-4-4 all time at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. What has led to that record?
I mean, it's a big stadium, lots of fans. It's pretty loud in this stadium, and at the same time, it's on turf. So a little bit different type of play. You need to kind of be used to. It takes some time because it's in a dome, so it's not the field. Even if they wet it doesn't go too fast. Sometimes the ball is going to skip. Sometimes it's going to stay. So it's very hard to kind of get a feel about the field. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't, and depending on how much pressure you receive from Atlanta, the game can go both ways. So it's going to be, I think, a lot of question from the coaching staff to see what will be the best team physically to start in that game, because playing on turf, I can tell you with Sheanon, we play on that. It takes a lot out of you as well, physically. So I'm sure Bradley Carney are going to maybe make some tweak into his starting lineup to make sure we have a full and readiness, defensively for the group, because it's going to be, I think, a big defensive play from the team to try to get a positive result in Atlanta.
Well, it's time for our last break of the show, but when we return, the guys will give their final thoughts for the shows. The Union get ready for their road tilt against Atlanta United on Saturday. Union Insider returns after this. Here's the answer to this week's Union Trivia question presented by United Concordia. The only other 2-goal second-half comeback in club history happened on June 8, 2019 against the New York Red Bulls. Jamiro Montero and Ilsinho scored back-to-back goals in the 60th and 61st minute to tie the game, and Ilsinho scored again in the 72nd to put the Union up for good in that one. All right, it's time for our final segment here on Union Insider presented by Independence Blue Cross. It's time for these guys to share their final thoughts of the show in this week's edition of Final Whistle presented by Allstate. So Sheanon, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is the depth of this team. I think that right now they're clicking on all cylinders and they're getting contributions from everybody. We've seen now Danley Jean-Jacques lead to or have a goal in 5 games. We've seen Quinn Sullivan with a ton of assists, Kai Wagner with a ton of assists, Ty Brebo leading the MLS in goals scored with 10. None of those have been a PK. and that just leads to good depth when you go into a long season. Can they keep that going? You never know where the help is going to come from, and that makes it hard to defend.
Yeah, and my final thought is, the team is doing very well in the month of May. Like we say, very tough, playing every 3 days. Now they go to Atlanta, where the team is really struggling. They spend a lot of money during the offseason, trying to make this team back into the playoff with a new manager, Ronnie Delia, who is not doing so well right now. So they're on a hot seat. So the pressure is on Atlanta. If the Union do a good job defensively to stay compact, to stay together, and like Sheanon said, with maybe some turnover into the starting 11, are able to get a positive result over there, it's a good sign for the Union. It's all about Atlanta. Can they make them doubt? Can they make them frustrate, during that game? And on few of the mistakes they are going to do, can we punish them and get a goal? I think it's a great plan, and a good game for the Union to maybe get another 3 points away from home.
All right, I love to see it. That's going to do it for this one. The Union are back on the road, this time in Atlanta, as they joust with Atlanta United at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday. Sebastian will be alongside Ray Dunn for the radio call on 97.5 The Fanatic. The game can also be seen on MLS Season Pass. So for Seba and Sheanon, I'm Marisa Pilla, and we'll see you next week.